Okay. Not exactly sure that anybody's watching yet, but here it goes. Not two of my podcast. Um, it's been a very busy day. I just finished our taxes. I was running a little bit behind on a few things. It's been hectic, so excuse the way I look and everything. But so tonight, I'm going to get into the big major event that drastically changed my life. 8 and 9 years old. Give me just a second. I'm battling my little one. Hold on. Okay, back. I'm back. So we ended it around the time I was at like 8 or 9 years old, and my mom had left me with my grandparents, and she went back to Pocahontas. Well, she stayed up there for a little bit, but then there was a bunch of back and forth. The year around my ninth year of living, there was a whole bunch of back and forth from White County to Pocahontas, Pocahontas to White County. And she did end up coming to back and staying with us. And she ended up getting to know a really good family friend. Um, in a weird and ironic way, he was kind of a stepson to a family member, but they hit it off, and they ended up together. Um, they ended up getting married and everything, and they actually made it work. My mom was around for a little while. Um, they got a little trailer that was in a small town close to where we lived and everything, and they made it work. It was working. Give me just a minute. Now my baby boy is crying the joy. Okay, so they made it work, and there wasn't that much drama because she was with a family friend, somebody who was close to our family. But they liked their substances too. And it was that was my mom's thing, substance and her men. So, so they were together, and I was in the fourth grade, almost 10 years old, and it was October 2000. Um, this event completely changed my world. On October 10th, 2000, I woke up and I went to school. Um, it was a normal day, nothing in particular. The night before, there had been some drama because my mom and her husband had wanted to go hunting, and they wanted my papa to keep my brother and my sister. My brother was around probably about 4 or 5 at the time, and my sister was 2. They wanted my papa or my grandma to keep them so that they could go hunting the next day. Well, my grandma had to work. She was an in-home health CNA who took care of hospice patients, and she worked through the health department. She'd done that for years. And my papa worked running his own tree trimming business with his friend, and they had a job to do that day. And he also wanted to make a run to the liquor store. If you know my pa, he liked his beer. And back then, whenever a job got well done, he liked to take a cold drink. Well, I went to school. I was in the 4th grade. School was my thing. So it was a normal day on October 10th. My grandma went to work that morning. I went to school. My papa went to do what he had to do. And while I was at school, probably about sometime that morning, I just started feeling really, really just sick. And hold up, let me back up. Sorry, you guys. But anyways, yes. So there was a little spat because they wanted my grandma and my papa to watch the kids, but they couldn't because of work. Well, so they ended up loading up to leave that night, the night before. Hello, Moto. Hold on, just a second. Um, but anyways, so they loaded up to leave, and so they loaded up to leave. Well, Sarah threw my 2-year-old sister threw the biggest fit ever. Like, she did not want to go with them. Like, it was a major, huge thing. And, just a second, I'm trying to send this to somebody. But it was a huge thing that she did not want to go with them. That little 2-year-old girl threw the biggest fit. And it broke my heart. But anyways, the next day, like I said, I went to school. Grandma and Papa went to work. And everything was fine until sometime that morning at school, I started feeling sick. I didn't really feel all that great, but it was a normal day. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. I didn't get sent home or anything like that. And I ended up coming home. Well, a little bit after school, whenever I got home, I always did my homework, fixed me a bowl of cereal, and I'd watch the little cartoons that was like Clifford the Big Red Dog and all of that. Well, I was sitting there watching Clifford, and we had a knock at the door. It was Ray Kaufman with the Judsonia Police Department. And I had answered the door, and he asked if he could speak to my grandma. And so I went and got my grandma and everything. And he told my grandma that we needed to get to the hospital because there had been an accident. My mom's husband at the time always drove really, really crazy. And right off the bat, we automatically assumed they had been in a car wreck. So, of course, we got really, really worried, but nothing was said that there had been any casualties or anything like that. And so we ended up loading up and hauling but to the hospital. Give me just a second. Okay, so we ended up hauling ass to the hospital. Whenever we got to the hospital, um, we pulled up, and right off the bat, we saw my mom's husband and my little brother outside the ambulance exit. And I will never forget this night. It's like literally etched in my brain. Like, I remember every single little detail, every single everything. Um, we got out, and right off the bat, if you know my grandma, she can be funky whenever she wants to be. If she wants to confront somebody about something, she's not shy. Um, and she automatically ran up to my mom's husband and asked what the hell happened. And he told her we was hunting. Okay. Um, Jesse was right there, my brother. My grandma ended up grabbing my mom's husband by his shirt collar. And she was like, "Where's my other grandbaby and my daughter?" He said, "Dina," which is my mom. Dina's in there talking about the hospital. And he said, "Sarah's still there." I'll never forget it. He said, "Sarah's still there." Grandma lost it. And she was like, "What do you mean Sarah's still there?" 2-year-old little girl. She's still there. Why? She didn't make it. I ended up fainting. In that second, my whole world just went dark. Whenever I come to, several more of our family had already shown up. And I had my cousin, Alicia. It was either Alicia or Jenny. I can't remember. But they were down there and they was like, "Hey." And everybody was freaking out. Like, everybody had shown up. So many different people had shown up. And everybody was trying to figure out what happened. Um, and we found out, or the story was that my mom, her husband, my brother, and my sister had woke up that morning and early that morning to go rabbit hunting. They had decided to go rabbit hunting at this place in between Bald Knob and Augusta, Arkansas. If you go from Bald Knob to Augusta and you're familiar with that highway, there is train tracks that run parallel with that highway. Well, once you get past Warden Baptist Church coming from Bald Knob, there's a bunch of train trestles on the right side. This incident happened in this area. But they had said that they had went rabbit hunting that morning or squirrel hunting or something like that. And that whenever they got done, they decided to walk across this train bridge because they didn't want the babies in going through the thorn bushes and stuff. Right off the bat, that story by itself makes no sense. Who takes a 2-year-old hunting to begin with like that in the early morning hours like that? Second of all, if you're walking through woods to go hunting, then why not walk through woods to get back in the car? Why take a train bridge knowing that you have 2 little bitty kids with you, and what happens if a train comes and you're in the middle of that bridge? But they had said they had taken the train bridge to walk across it so that the kids didn't have to walk through the thorns. And whenever they got almost to the end of it, they heard a train come in. My mom's husband said that he grabbed my brother and tried to grab my sister, but mom shooed him on. And then my mom grabbed my sister. My mom's husband and my brother Jesse cleared the tracks. Like, there was no issues with them. They didn't have anything on them. The story is my mom was not able to make it to the end of the tracks, and that she was holding my sister like this, like, mom's hold on the front, and that she had turned her back to the train. So, like, this wall is the train. She would have been standing like this, holding my sister. The train supposedly come by and somehow sucked my sister out of her arms and tossed my mom over the bridge. That's the story. If you would talk to the conductors of the train at the time, they will clarify that whenever they was headed towards this particular train trestle, that they had noticed a couple of shadows, but that by the time they reached the location, all of the shadows had jumped off, that they were no longer there. My issue, this really, really, like, gets to me. I had a grown uncle get hit by a train in his car whenever I was younger. And this was at a railroad crossing. The train probably wasn't going any more than maybe 35, 40 tops. I doubt it was even going 40, because I think it's like 35 miles per hour is the top speed for crossings. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that. But it's not very fast. He was in his car and he was a grown man. They wouldn't even allow an open casket funeral for him because of how damaged he was. My sister, on the other hand, my mom had an open casket funeral for her. It was really, really bad. Hold on a second. My little one just jumped up. Hold on. Okay. But it was an open casket funeral. Her body was still there. My grandmother is the one who dressed her. I was around 10 years old, and they tried to get me to not see her, but that was my baby sister. Like, I took care of her a lot whenever she was young, and I mean, like, we were really, really close, me and Sarah. That was my baby girl. Like, that's how I felt about her at that age, even though I was only 10, around 10. I mean, I looked at her like I loved her. So they couldn't talk me out of wanting to see her one last time. I wish I didn't. She, like I said, her body was still there. Her body from here down seemed normal, but she had a laceration or was cut from here to here. And her head, like, let me see. I'm gonna try to, like, her head right here was smashed in. Like, you could tell her skull and everything was smashed in. One of her eyebrows was like up here, and one was down here. Um, Her cause of death was fatal head trauma. To me, it did not seem like a train hit my sister. It seemed more like something else had happened. Not saying that my mom purposely murdered her or anything like that, but I think there was just other things that happened there that day. Um, Whenever it happened, there was two people that responded to the scene and that cleared it as a pedestrian train accident. Ray Kaufman was one of those people, and I never quite understood that because he was like a Judsonia cop. Why he was over there out of his jurisdiction, I will not understand that. If anybody can explain that to me, like, please let me understand it. And then the other one was a Baldwin police officer that later ended up marrying my mom's husband's sister. Like, whoa, right? Now, I'm not blaming these officers. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but do I believe that this incident should have been cleared as a pedestrian train accident? I do not. My mom is bipolar schizophrenic. My sister did not get hit by a train out there in the middle of nowhere and have her body still there. I really honestly think where my sister was found, there was like, whenever you have train bridges, they have the embankments built up with like these boulders or these rocks. Well, one of those rocks is about the size it looked like that would fit on my sister's head where her head was caved in. So, like, if you was to get a big rock and, like, just hit somebody as hard as you can in the head, like right here, that's what it looked like that happened to my sister. I've had my suspicions about my mom for a very, very long time because I've seen her go into anger rages. And for the longest time, whenever I was younger, I honestly thought my mom purposely did something to my sister. After seeing my sister in that state, I had nightmares. I still have nightmares about it sometimes. It's not something you easily get over. It's it stays there, like constantly, nonstop. But I do think that it should have been investigated better. And I don't know if maybe my mom and her husband was just out there maybe trying to get high. Or maybe they really was hunting, just not thinking about it. Being immature, not being irresponsible. But I do think that maybe they wasn't paying attention. Maybe Sarah got up on the bridge and fell and hit her head. Or maybe something really did happen. Like maybe my mom really did go into a fit or a rage or something. But now my mom did have scratches up and down her arms. But at the same time, if somebody goes into a rage and they go to attack a little 2-year-old baby, if a grown man grabs a woman by her arms, like, can her arms not get messed up? Or would somebody who thinks that they're going to go to jail because they wasn't watching their 2-year-old good enough cause something? There's a lot of people who would probably get really, really mad if they knew I was talking about this on here. But this has been the biggest skeleton in my closet since 2000. We're in 2022. That's 22 years of my life that I have lived this nightmare. Like, it never goes away. And it torments you, and not knowing those answers and just knowing who the people involved that released as a pedestrian train accident. Like, there's just so much stuff that does not add up. And then after all that was said and done, whenever we did have my sister's funeral, we wasn't able, my mom did the open casket thing. I wish she wouldn't have, because nobody should have seen my sister like that. I shouldn't have seen my sister like that. But I couldn't help it. I had to say goodbye to her. But my mom did the open casket thing several times. As a mother, I don't think I could have looked at my baby that much whenever she looked like that. I would have had to have seen her one last time to say my goodbye, but I mean, Sarah's casket was open like 2 or 3 times. It was like, I don't know, it just felt weird to me. And then her funeral had tons of cops at it because of Sarah's dad. He was furious. The night that it happened, he actually showed up at my grandma and my papa's house, which my mom was released from the hospital the same night. She did not even have an overnight stay in the hospital, but she did not come to our house. She went somewhere else. And her and my brother went somewhere else. But Sarah's biological dad showed up at mine and my grandma and my papa's house with some of his family, and he straight up wanted to know where my mom was because he knew that she killed his daughter. We ended up having to run him off with a gun. My papa ended up having to run him off with his pistol because they were threatening us. And he was in a rage because he had just found out about his 2-year-old daughter being killed. And he was 100% certain that my mom had done it. Like, he wanted to know where she was. So whenever we had Sarah's funeral, there was like all of these cops. All of these cops. My sister was not able to be put to rest peacefully. It wasn't peaceful. It was very, very much. It was a very heavy service, and I'll never forget it. My papa, when he passed in August, he's actually resting right next to where she was laid to rest. So we had her funeral and everything, and then after that, my mom decided she was going to sue the train company. Now, here's a little, like, she tried to sue the train company for wrongful death. Let me tell you a little, the conductors on there, one of them ended up taking his life, I believe, and then the other one never went back to driving a train again because of this case. But my mom sued the train company. They took all kinds of pictures. They had all kinds of pictures of Sarah, and they had taken some pictures of the train and there was like this one itty bitty dent in this train that they had claimed was where my sister hit. Which, if that is where she had hit, I don't see how she would have got like cut. which I never really understood that part. I wish the detectives or the police would have opened an investigation and really looked into it, but that didn't happen. But my mom, she tried suing the train company for wrongful death. She did end up getting it. Um, Luckily, the judge that was on the case was very, very familiar with my mother, and he did not award her the full amount. She ended up getting awarded $140,000. You heard that right. $140,000. Okay, that's like a lot of money. Um, like I said, the judge was pretty smart. He knew my mom. He did not award her the entire amount. He put 50,000 in a CD for me for whenever I turned 18, and then he put 50,000 in a CD for my brother for when he turned 18. Well, that's another story for another night. We'll get into all of that and what happened with that money. But my mom only won 40,000. Personally, I don't even see who could do that, knowing that these two workers who was on this train's lives, like their lives is already like ruined because you have convinced them that they took the life of a 2-year-old little girl. But it was my mom's choice to be on a train bridge with my sister. Even if that is really what happened, like it was her choice to be on the train bridge with my sister. Why are you going to turn around and sue the train company? How do you even get awarded an amount for wrongful death for being on a bridge with a 2-year-old, a train bridge? Like, make it make sense. Like, it's never made sense to me. Like, even legally, like, in the legal perspective, like, wrongful death is because something happens that the company is at fault for. That train company didn't make my mom be out there with my sister that morning. Like, explain to me how she gets awarded 140,000. Thank God the judge was smart and did not allow the full amount to be given directly to her. But how do you pull that off? Like, just how do you pull that off? My mom ended up leaving shortly after all of this happened and after the lawsuit was done. She took her husband and he started working with my Papa Dean, which is my mom's biological dad. And they went off to work. I can't remember what kind of work they were doing, but they went off to work and they come back and my mom's husband was scared shitless. Like, he was not himself, and him and my mom separated. Like, they never spoke again. It was just a done deal. My mom said that he had gotten violent with her, and so her daddy threatened him, and he was going to leave her alone from here on out. And she ended up back in Pocahontas with her 40,000 and a new boyfriend. She blew it on a truck and all this stuff. Okay, like, she didn't even hold on to that money very long. And it was new boyfriend. She was done with her husband that it had happened with. And I will go on to say that that man, the guy that she was married to, he was never the same again. Like, he was never himself. I actually saw him not very too long ago, or well, I guess it would be a while ago, but I saw him a couple months before, probably about half a year before my papa died, and that was actually the most normal I had seen him since my sister had passed, and even then he just wasn't himself still. Like, the day that happened to my sister changed everything. It absolutely changed everything. Um, I do remember, like, everybody reaching out to me. I knew I had an awesome support system. I know quite a few of my teachers and my counselor from the school I went to at the time showed up to her funeral. I had taken like 2 weeks off from school. All of my classmates had made all of these cards and sent them to me. I used to still have those cards somewhere. I'll have to them, but like, literally every single moment of the day it happened. Like, I can close my eyes and relive through every single second. I can really relive through the emotions, the tears, the screaming, the yelling, the fighting, um, all of it. I even went out to the spot it happened shortly afterwards because I needed to see it. It doesn't make, I know you're like, he was 10 years old. Like, why? But it just, you don't understand it until you're in that spot. Like, it's, it's a feeling I can't explain. Like, I do a lot nowadays. I do a lot of extra activities concerning crime, stories like this, or like criminal justice and everything. I got really involved in the Justice for Hunter movement for Hunter Britton and his family. And that's why, because people just don't realize, like, until you're in that spot where you really want to actually know what really happened to a loved one, and you can't get the answers that you want, like, it haunts you. Like, every single day, like, it haunts you. I used to have a folder. I'm not sure exactly where it's at now, because I had it put up at my grandma's house for the longest time, but we have a folder somewhere that's like this thick of stuff that just doesn't make sense, of Sarah's case and the money that was spent afterwards, where all it went. It had all the crime scene photos or all the photos that they used for the court case for wrongful death and everything. I used to have all of that. I wish I could find it. Hopefully one day I will. I have to go through all of my grandma's stuff. Um, and it's just, it's hard dealing with. It's very, very hard dealing with. Um, you never get over it. And I will never quit trying to find the truth. The thing that's so crazy now is, and this is the main reason why I kind of think that there's more to the story than just a pedestrian train accident. Because if it was just a pedestrian train accident, once you have court cases, and those court cases, especially civil cases, which is what a wrongful death is, like, that's not charging somebody for a crime. I mean, like, it's not like a criminal case where you're going to get jail time or this or that. It's just you're suing somebody for monetary damages. That should be public. I mean, that should be public information. There should be files on it. There should be some kind of record of it at the courthouse. After all of this happened, my grandma and me included, whenever I got older, we have tried to locate the files on my sister's case. You cannot find a single thing. Like, not a single thing. It's like Sarah never even existed. It's like this case never even happened. You can't find anything about it. That doesn't just happen, folks. Like, if you think our system isn't crooked and doesn't try to do cover ups, this and that, they do. They do. And I've always had I've always had very, very strong feelings on the story about my sister as it was told from the people who were there is not the full story. And I will probably die feeling that way. I know after my papa passed, I did have somebody come up to me and they tried to give me, they were somebody that was pretty close whenever all of that had happened. And they did try to put my mind at ease a little bit, because most people who are close to me know that this is something that bothers me. Like, I've never been able to let it go. It haunts me nonstop. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of makes me an over worrisome mother. Like, I am way, way, way overprotective of my kids. Like, every little bitty thing. So, like, I can't help it. It's whenever that event and not knowing what happened to my sister and seeing her body, seeing her face, the way it looked, like, that was the start of my post traumatic stress disorder. And my PTSD gives me a lot of issues, which I was probably already having slight cases of PTSD before that happened, because of the stuff that I dealt with my mom beforehand already. But that by itself, the thing with Sarah, like, it has never been put to rest with me. It still isn't. Like, just talking about this right now makes me want to just cry and, like, curl up in a little bitty ball. I hope one of these days I'm able to really truly find out what happened to her. But who knows? Hopefully one day I will. Hopefully one day my mom will sit down and talk to me. But me and her can't talk about it. The few times that we have tried, the few times I mean, like, way younger years, I don't these days, because I know what it'll cause. But she would never really talk to me about the events that day. The only thing I've heard from her was she has told me that it should have been me. Um, she did get mad because I accused her of being a bad mother, and that's why Sarah wasn't here anymore. And she got really, really mad and jumped on top of me one day, and she was like, "You don't know what you're talking about." But I've never really been able to get her to just sit down and talk about it with me. And Jesse, me and Jesse ain't close. He will not talk to me. Like, my mom has fed him through, like, that was always her baby, and she's always loved Jesse. Like, that was her golden child. I don't know what it was about Jesse, but she fed his head full of a bunch of stuff about me and my grandparents. And he's never really talked to me. And I do know that there was a few times after it happened that he would joke in certain ways about Sarah, and it would make me mad. There was even one night that, and I'm not proud of this, like, this is bad. Okay, as his sister, I should have set a better example, but he had stayed the night. He ended up picking him, joking about my sister being gone. That I did. I, like, literally picked that little boy. I picked him up and, like, chunked him towards my bedroom window. Thank God he did not hit the window. But still, like, I had so much anger and rage built up in me because I did not believe the story that I was being told about my sister, I thought something way worse happened to her. I still do. And one of these days I will do my best. And I hope that one of these days I really do find out the true story there. But it's just that is the one event that just completely changed my life. And after that, I was never the same. I was never the same kid again. Like before that, I enjoyed, like, I was always active in like Girl Scouts with my grandma, and like I was active in Girl Scouts. I went to church all the time with my grandparents and this and that. After that happened to Sarah, like I shut down. Like the world was a black place, just a straight up black place. So yeah, that's the event that changed, completely turned everything around for me and made me hate the world. Like, it made me hate the world. I was 10 years old and I hated the world. I was full of hate. I was full of rudeness. I could not stand my mother. I was not shy. And it said that was the start of a very, very dark road for me. And I will continue the story tomorrow night. But for now, um, instead of thinking about the description I described my sister, I want you guys to know my beautiful baby sister, Sarah Beth. This is how I want to remember her. She is one of my guardian angels, and she's always with me. Um, and I will play you guys, and then I will call it a night for tonight. So